is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Tyson Downs with Titan Web Agency. Titan Web Agency has years of experience working with dentists, helping them meet their revenue goals. Prior to starting Titan Web Agency, he freelanced in SEO and Web Design while working in the corporate world. Tyson is a graduate of Brigham Young University, the father of 5, and a passionate bodybuilder. So you should switch from iTunes right now and go follow us and subscribe at YouTube. On YouTube, he's naked right now on the show. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Tyson created a digital marketing agency that truly gets it. They understand what it's like to own and run a small business. They understand the challenges that you go through each day because, frankly, they face many of the same challenges. They treat you like a person, like a friend, not just another account. They speak to you in terms that you can understand. They get that you aren't an SEO expert. All you want is to get more leads coming in. They aren't a low-price, budget, churn and burn agency. They like to say, you can have quality, you can have low price, but you can't have both. If you're in need of more patients and are considering a marketing company, consider Titan Web Agency. And what I want to say before we let the man talk is that overhead, I mean, the simplest way to look at overhead is if your cost for a year are $1 and you do $1 worth of dentistry, your overhead's 100%. So what do? You try to save money on supplies and you try to not give raises or bonuses and you just try to cut down that cost. But if you raise your sales to $2, now your overhead's 50%. And watching overhead, when I got out of school 30 years ago, the average dentist had 50% overhead. Now they have over 65% overhead. That's 2/3. And the bottom line is you're signing up for all these PPOs, which are lower prices. Every time the earth goes around the sun, all the staff want to raise, so your overhead's ticking up. And usually the way to solve overhead is patient flow equals cash flow. You get in more new patients. You market, you advertise, you get in more new patients, you do more same-day dentistry. When you tell someone they have a cavity, always ask them if they want to do it now. You have extra rooms, you work through lunch, you stay late. But Tyson, I know my homies. They every month, they don't go bankrupt. Dentists only have a 0.4% bankruptcy rate. Hell, restaurants have a 20% bankruptcy rate the first year. The only way a dentist goes bankrupt is he gets his license taken away, and that's about 85% of the time for alcohol, 15% for opioids. So they're not going to go bankrupt. So they paid their rent, mortgage, equipment, build out computer, insurance, malpractice, professional dues. They paid all their bills. So that one more new patient that month is pretty much nothing but net income gravy. And all they want is 10 or 15 more new patients a month. What do you do when a dentist calls you up and says, Tyson, I need 15 more bodies walking in this door each month?
What we like to do is we like to have a strategy session with them. We like to find out the why, of course, why do you need this? Where are you at now and where do you want to be? So once we understand that a little bit more, we can understand the strategy to approach that. If they're having a hard time paying their bills and bringing any money home, then we know this is pretty urgent. We need to start getting some new patients in right away, whether that's through some Google ads or some focusing on emergency dentistry, whatever it may be. But the why, I think, is a big thing that a lot of people don't go into. So if we understand the why, we can help the dentist get there a little bit quicker.
Well, what are some of the whys that you're seeing in the field?
So I'll see from, I'm working 2 jobs right now. I work at a corporate practice, and I'm trying to stay here at my own practice 3 days a week. And obviously the why there is, he wants to be his own boss. He doesn't want to have a corporate boss anymore. And so cases like that, I work with him and say, what are you doing as far as networking in your community? That's a big thing. When somebody goes to a dentist, if they've seen you around the community, seen you promoting different events, maybe a local Little League or something like that, that's going to go a long ways. Another why is, Tyson, I've been doing well over the past few years, but I see a dentist down the road that seems to be doing a lot better. So, sometimes it's a matter of ego. They want to be the best, the most well-known in the town. So it just kind of depends on who it is and what their goals are.
Yeah, dentists are competitive because for 4 years, all through college, I remember, you take a chemistry test in undergrad. And then they post the 40 answers, A, B, C, D on the back, and and they're just, they're competitive because in undergrad, only that top 10% got to go on to med school, dent school, law school, and then they get into dental school, and only that top 10 or 15% get to go on to grad school or whatever. So they're extremely competitive. But tell that guy working 3 days in one place and 2 days in another to grow a pair of stones, and you die. You can't pretend to learn how to swim by crawling along the side of the swimming pool with one hand and one leg in the water. You just dive in head first, and remember, nobody goes bankrupt unless you have a substance abuse problem. And if you do have a substance abuse problem, just go get that fixed. Go work on that. Go be an associate somewhere and go to treatment, get fixed, and then dive in head first. One of the things I really love reading on your site, you say, by the way, his site is TitanWebAgency.com. TitanWebAgency.com. By the way, where'd you get the name Titan? Is that related to Tyson?
No, it isn't. And actually, if I would have thought about it more and seen how closely those two are, I probably would have went with something else. But I like the name Titan just because it feels strong and mighty. But hindsight's 2020. It is what it is now, and so I'll stick with it.
Why didn't you go Tyson Web Agency?
Well, it was just me for a long time, but I've built a team of probably about 10 that work with me on a consistent basis, and I didn't want to be seen as the only person in the company that can do anything. So I have an account manager that manages the accounts with me, and I don't want somebody, when they come to me, thinking, oh, well, I thought you were going to do everything for me, Tyson. Well, that's not realistic when I have a number of different clients.
Well, great minds think alike, because that is why I did not call my dental office Howard Farran DDS. I said, if I'm going to go out and build this big brand, Howard Farran, everyone's going to call my dental office and want me. And I felt like graduating dental school is like being given a lawnmower. I didn't want to push a lawnmower for 65 years. So I went with Today's Dental because the number one thing was they can't get into the dentist. Like right now, for the United States, it's a 5-day wait to get into a dentist if you're an existing patient or new patient. And 8.5% of emergency room visits are odontogenic in origin because they can't get in their dentist. So I went with Today's Dental because I wanted to build that big brand, so they'd call that phone, and then if I'm in, they could give them to me, and if not. But you said 71% of people click on page one search results. 88% of consumers trust online reviews as much as a recommendation of a friend. 93% of online experiences begin with a search engine. 77% of patients search online before booking an appointment. This is what I think. The other thing that you said, let me see if I can find this so I don't butcher your words. But basically, I'll just butcher since I can't find it on your website. I see all these people doing all these Facebook posting, and they're just Facebook, and that's interesting. But they're not. But that's not when they're looking for a dentist. I mean, it'd be like I don't know. Let's say I need a bypass one day. So I could be glossing over all these heart doctors or whatever doctors, whatever, but that ain't today. So it's very different when you just broke your tooth, or you got a toothache this morning, or you're brushing your teeth and found a hole in it, and you want a dentist there. That's a very different human behavior than just surfing your Facebook pages and seeing all these ads fly by. Correct? Or same with television ads.
Exactly. I think that Facebook can work for certain demographics and certain dentists that have very specific goals. However, I always tell my clients the best marketing strategy is a diverse one. So if they want to test Facebook, fantastic. Let's test it. Let's throw maybe a couple $1,000s over 3 or 4 months and see what happens. But let's not just put all of our eggs in the Facebook basket or even the Google AdWords basket, even though Google AdWords can be extremely effective. I work with a few different drug rehab centers, and what happened, Google started restricting the keywords by about 90%. And so these rehab centers that have been spending $20,000, $30,000 a month on AdWords, all of a sudden, they were bidding on everything and could only spend $5,000 or $6,000 a month on AdWords max because everything was filtered. So that's part of the reason why we want to have a diverse marketing strategy and see what works. Once we find out what works, that's where we put most of our focus and time and attention, and then fine tuning that even more.
Just you homies out there, every time I see a report come out on dentists and substance abuse, they pretty much mirror the population. About 14% of Americans have substance abuse issues, and that's about the population. So dentists have never been really higher or lower. Same with divorce rates; they're always the median, the mean. But I'm really proud because I'm Irish, 100%, and in Ireland, 38% are alcoholics. The
Wow.
only people that beat us is Russia. Those damn Russians are 40%. My goal is that someday that the Irish get to 41. I don't know. I don't know if I should do that with Google AdWords. Yeah. So how tied? The dentist. Talk about the difference between putting money into your website for organic search and reach and all that versus
Mhm.
just paying for it. One you earn it. I always say that's like making love to your girlfriend. Whereas one you pay for it. What's more effective, pay to play or earning it at home with your organic with a great website?
I'm going to give a very on the fence answer. Both of them work, and I think that both of them should be used. Reason being is you want to build something up that's going to last for a long time. So you want to build up a good, strong web presence, and that's through a website that provides a great user experience, that gives us this visitor what they want, that the search engines can read and understand. You want to become, I tell my clients, popular online, meaning you have people that are referencing your site and linking over to your site. It's going to help you in the search results. But that can take, in competitive markets, that can take months or maybe even years if your competitors are doing a good job to get where you want to be. So in that case, that's where you really need to be using other avenues, whether it's Google Ads or postcards can be extremely effective. Getting into Facebook, seeing what you can do there, but you shouldn't rely just on one avenue. But it's always a good idea to start sooner as opposed to later with your organic presence.
Um, you you were in Utah, and I've seen several reports that Utah is the most crowded of the 50 states. It has the lowest dentist to population ratio of all 50 states. Now you work with clients all over the United States, correct?
That's right.
Do you because these young kids like I got two dental schools out the street from me, Midwestern in Glendale and AT still in Mesa, and a lot of my Mormon buddies are like, well, I want to go home because that's where mom and dad are and all that stuff. Um, do demographics matter? I mean, when you're working with clients around the United States, are people in rural areas less likely to be a client because they don't need your services? Do you have more clients in Utah because there's a dentist on every corner? So I'm saying, do demographics matter, or could you go in the most crowded place and just outmarket, advertise, SEO, and search everyone?
I have, as I said, clients all over. I have some clients in Utah, clients in a number of other states, clients in small markets, clients in very large markets. And, what the difference is, the basics are the same. We need to make sure your website is up to par, that it can be read, that you get your good local SEO on that. But the main difference is how much you need to spend. If I have a dentist in Houston and he is brand new and he wants to rank number one, great. Okay, great. That's a good goal. However, Houston's a large area. Other guys have been marketing for 10 years. So let's be realistic. What do we need to do? How about we start going after the close neighborhoods to you? One, that's going to bring in more localized and more targeted visitors to your office. But two, it's going to be we're able to get quicker results as well. So in bigger markets, yeah, you're going to probably have to spend more because everybody else is spending more, unless you have some type of a magic formula, which people promise, but they never actually have. It's realistic that you're going to have to pay more because everybody else has that strong presence and has done it for a while. In some smaller markets, there's not much competition, and a lot of dentists haven't done anything besides put up a website. And in cases like that, I've had dentists come to me and just need to have a new website and have it optimized, have their Google My Business set up properly, and get a few citations set up. And that's all they need, and they're still number one in the 3-pack. So it varies heavily, but, those competitive markets, it's going to take some money to make some money.
Yeah, and by the way, kids, a lot of times when you get out and you're starting to practice, these people will brag that, well, I'll get you the first page on Google. I'll get you the first blah 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 blah. Well, hell, if I Google Howard Farran DDS, I'm gonna be the only result. So it's really hard to ask what page one is because you don't know what they're going to be searching.
Yeah, and that's what I see as a problem in our industry is people will say whatever it takes to get the business. When I talk with a client, I'm basically interviewing them as well to see, are we a good fit? Do I think that they're going to be on me checking all the time? My rankings aren't here. What's going on? If that's the case, I'm not going to do business with them. They need to understand the big picture, and I try to set that expectation right from the get-go. It's going to take a while for the work that we do to be seen and recognized by the search engines, and for us to make some progress. But I set a good time frame for what I expect to happen, and show them how we're going to track the leads that are coming in, so they can tie that investment that they're making back into their return.
Everybody's saying that search is rapidly changing right before our eyes, going from texting to voice. And back to the back to my reading Peter Lynch, Beating the Street, Wall Street. All my economic training is Peter Lynch. I can just hear his voice saying, when you look at these national stocks and you live in Omaha. Well, how's that restaurant doing in Omaha? I remember analyzing Boston Market 20 years ago, and I did what Peter Lynch said. I kept going there and eating and seeing all the happy customers and all the stuff like that. And I've noticed in my circle of friends that people are now, when they pull up that Google on the smartphone, they're not getting their big meaty thumbs out. They're hitting that little voice icon and they're talking into it. Do you think that's going to change? Do you think that's going to have a material impact on search?
I think it will. It's really hard to say how it's going to affect local search. I know that it's affecting search on Amazon and Alexa, drastically. If you tell Alexa, hey, order me some XYZ, she's just going to order what's the first result. So I would anticipate that it would start to go in the same type of a direction with Google. You tell Google, where's the closest dentist or who's the best dentist in my area, then something similar is going to be happening. And then that's where it's so important that you show up well in the search results.
Yeah, gosh, I almost died because when I called the ambulance, I said, Siri, call me 911. She says, hello, 911. And she just changed my name. When I got out of school, the big ones were going in retail instead of medical dental billing, big pages in the phone book, and direct mail. And now the phone book, I declared dead. I mean, I don't know anybody. I've never seen anybody use it. Now everyone's in retail on every corner. The phone book is dead. Is direct mail dead too?
I don't think so. And it's not a service that I offer, but it's a service that I'm a big believer in. I've done a lot of research and work with a lot of dentists that use direct mail, and if done right, it can be extremely effective. My opinion, the best way to do it is to do oversized postcards. And if you're on a budget, you can do every door direct mail. They call it EDDM, and that is through the U.S. Postal Service. That ends up being much cheaper.
EDDM?
That's right.
What does that stand for?
Every door direct mail. So you'll select a zip code, and then it will go to every door within that zip code.
Yeah.
But the best way to do it is if you can buy a list. The most important thing when you're sending out direct mail or sending an offer is having a good list. If you don't have a good list, it doesn't matter how great your offer is or how pretty your postcard is. But if you can get a good list of new move-ins in your area, new home buyers, whatever it may be, and send a direct mail to them, then you're going to be getting some results. And it's not just one. You never just send just one. You're going to send one after another month, and then after maybe 3 months, then another one 6 months, and make sure that you're tracking that. That's where so many fall short, is they're not tracking the calls that come in. And that's as easy as ordering a call tracking number. And then you don't have to ask people, hey, how did you find out about us? You don't have to have a very unique offer on that. You can just have your regular offer, and if they call that number, then it shows up in a report, and you see how many calls and appointments that generated.
One of the reasons television is dying is not only are the people under 50 just not watching it, but when you sit there and you're trying to watch a news program, and every 10 minutes they give you 4 minutes of commercials, and none of them are targeted. I mean, I don't want a little chair device that's going to carry me up to the second floor. I don't have restless leg syndrome. I don't want a class action lawsuit. And it seems like media's gone from back when I was a kid with just ABC, NBC, CBS. They just blanketed these big consumer packaged goods products that maybe everybody would want to eat oatmeal or Captain Crunch or whatever. But as it gets digital, people really got to think about targeting. So my first question is like, if I was a dentist and I want to do a lot of implants on grandma and grandpa, I would think that it would be more likely they'd go to their mailbox and get a direct mail than find me on Facebook or Google. Is that true or false?
Well, I agree with you 100% there. Now, that isn't to say that we don't use Google because you'll want to find people searching. But yeah, grandma and grandpa are going to be looking at the mail a lot more and on the computer less. And then if you do some ads on the internet, what about using Bing at that point? 'Cause what's the default search or default browser on most computers that grandma and grandpa use? It's Internet Explorer. And what's the default search engine? It's going to be Bing. So at that point, it's a little bit more targeted. And if you get more targeted, you're going to get the better results we talked about.
Man, that is profound. I've never heard anybody say that, and that is so obvious. If you're going after grandma and grandma, you're right. They would be on Bing. They would be on Internet Explorer. That is truly. So, what about if you were, say, an orthodontist or a pedodontist, and you wanted the kids, but the kids aren't going to make the appointment? I keep reading things from people like Regina Hertzlinger, who's a DBA, a doctorate business administration from Harvard University in healthcare economics. She's been saying for 30 years that mom makes 9 out of 10 appointments. True or false? Do you believe that?
That's how it is in our house. I
Yeah.
agree 100%. I'm busy working, and mom is extremely busy too. But she kind of picks up the slack there and sets those appointments and takes the kids to the appointments. So yeah, I agree 100%. And so in cases like that, you're going to want to get in front of the moms.
Or how are moms different on social media? I mean, I just read the other day from Professor Scott Galloway at NYU School of Business saying that YouTube was 80% males. Do you think moms, if this is a female industry, which it is, I mean, 30 years I could vouch you. If a guy like you walks out, I say, hey Tyson, you got 5 kids, I'm doing their insurance. Real quick, give me the birthdays of all 5 of those kids. I mean, it's like deer in a headlight. I mean, they don't know any of that information. It's mom's always brings in the insurance. She always knows the birth date. She knows all that stuff. How would finding mom on social media be different than finding dad?
Obviously, Facebook would be one that you'd want to look at that point. And with Facebook advertising, you can get extremely detailed on what you're going after. But I wouldn't just leave it to social at that point. When you're doing perhaps Google AdWords, you would maybe want to speak a little bit more mom language. Talk in the ad, maybe talk a little bit about how easy it is to set up the appointment so they can save time during their day or get time back during their day, whatever it may be. So you want to speak their language, and look at local networking events where it's more women. Where do women go for local networking events? And can that orthodontist office perhaps have some type of a open house or a tour for a preschool? And I know that may not be the biggest thing that's going to drive business, but it's these little incremental things. I read this book called The Slight Edge. I can't remember the author of it right now, but The Slight Edge talks about how you're doing these little things every single day. And you're not seeing much happen at first, but over time you look back and you can see, a profound change. And so if you're making, an effort to do networking events on a regular basis, to test out different marketing efforts, then you're going to notice a big difference over time.
So if they go to your website, TitanWebAgency.com, There's a place there where you can download, get a complete overview of your local SEO performance in minutes, search rankings, local listings, reviews, on-site SEO, social media. Simply enter your business name and we'll do the rest. Talk about that report.
So that's a report. We use very special software that goes and looks up your business, and it puts in you put in your information, and then we pull back what you're ranking for, the different keywords you rank for, and we scour the web and look at references over to your site. Are you listed on Yelp? If so, is that information correct? What's your Google My Business information? Is that correct? And we let you know where you're ranking and how you compare versus some of the competition. The main thing is, you may think that you're doing well, but hey, go run this report, and we'll show you some areas of opportunity where you can improve.
And that usually does?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would say that anybody that's run that report has come away with something that they can do better. For example, we'll give it an on-page SEO analysis. For those that aren't technical, that means we'll look at your website, basically how the search engines look at it, and then show you where there's things that could be fixed. It could be as simple as, your website right now, the title tag maybe says home. I see that on a regular basis. And we typically don't want that. We want it to say something like, Dr. Baxter, Salt Lake City dentist. We want it to be more descriptive so the search engines can read that. And so that report will give you an idea of what's missing and what needs to be fixed.
And what else are they going to find on your website, TitanWebAgency.com?
We have a number of different reports that are available that can help them improve their performance for their Google AdWords, help them improve their SEO. We have some patient care forums. And I actually have if you don't mind, I'll give a website they can go to where we're going to give them a very comprehensive website audit. That's getmyaudit.net. They go to getmyaudit.net, that's my site, and fill in their information, and we'll provide a report.
Get my audit, A-U-D-I-T.
That's right. That's right.
Getmyaudit.com.
.net.
Oh, .net, okay.
And they'll put in their information, and we'll send them over within a couple business days a very comprehensive analysis of their web presence and their rankings for their important keywords.
Okay, let me see if I got it to work. Yep, there it is. Free website analysis, report analysis. Titan Web Agency, achieve greatness. Free website and online presence analysis. How's your website performing? Are you paying for little to no results? Do you know where your website is missing the mark? How would you like to get a free SEO report analysis that contains all the information? I want to switch gears completely to reviews. Bottom line is, all honesty, I'm 55. All my buddies that I go hang out with and watch the Cardinals and now the Diamondbacks, who haven't won a game this month, and the Cardinals football quarterback coach. Our quarterback is ranked 30 out of what, 30? Is it 32 NFL teams or 36?
I was thinking there's 28.
How many NFL teams are there? Yeah, well, Phoenix, Arizona Cardinals has the prestigious ranking of number 30, which means that I might be able to get a job. There's 32 teams, and we're 30. So it's going to be a depressing deal. But I've never seen anybody use Yelp or get a review. I mean, I've never... when I go lecture, a bunch of dentists will say, hey, you want to go here? You want to go there? There's 4 or 5 of us in a car. I've never in my life one time seen a 50, 60, 70-year-old dentist say, well, let's read a Yelp review before. I've just never seen it. Is that because I'm a grandpa and have 4 grandchildren and this is a millennial thing? Or is it a San Francisco thing that doesn't happen in Kansas? Back to that Peter Lynch thing. I mean, he keeps saying, Howard, look at this business in your backyard. Don't look at a Wall Street analyst. The richest stock investor in the world is Warren Buffett. He lived in Omaha purposely because he didn't want to listen to all the bullshit in Manhattan. So sell me, Tyson. Never seen it. Never seen it.
So this is what I tell the people that are wanting to work with me or that I work with is your ideal customer, your ideal patient isn't you. So don't make your decision on what needs to happen because of a preconceived notion that you have. You don't use Yelp, okay. But does that mean people don't use Yelp? No, it doesn't. There could be an ideal patient that wants a $50,000 Smile Makeover, and they use Yelp. So are you going to get on Yelp or not? So yeah, there's things that we need to do, even if we don't personally use them, and we need to, be able to swallow our pride and say, this can be a potential avenue for success for me, and I at least need to look into it. I have a psychologist that I work with. She's like, no Yelp, I have beliefs, and they don't fit in that belief system. Like, okay, no Yelp, that's fine, but people will go and search for a psychologist on Yelp. They do, and if you're not listed on Yelp, or if Yelp creates a listing for you and there's nothing on there, then you're going to be negatively impacted. So don't have these beliefs that because you don't do something, somebody else won't. And that kind of goes along the lines of when I work with these clients on building new websites, they sometimes think, well, my website needs to do this and this and this, or look specifically like this because that's what I like. Absolutely not. Your website is not for you. Your website is a storefront. Your website is 24/7 salesperson for you. So let somebody that's objective, such as ourselves, make these recommendations on what needs to happen on your website, and then we can make some tweaks so that you're happy with it as well.
So we put this podcast on Dental Town, but I also own Ortho Town. There's the magazine's mailed each month to 10,800. I've always noticed the orthodontists are twice as intense marketers than the general dentist. Do you think it's because, the average Invisalign ortho case is 6,500, whereas the dentist, he's going to get a new patient, it's going to be a cleaning exam, an X-ray, and a couple of fillings. Have you noticed that with orthodontists? Because you say you serve the industries of dentistry, plastic surgery, physicians, healthcare professionals, orthodontists, drug rehab, psychologists, physician groups, accountants, and lawyers. So tell me the difference between your dentist clients and your orthodontist clients.
I think the main difference is you hit the nail on the head is, these typical cases that are coming in for an orthodontist are higher in value typically. Not always, but, generally they are. And so they're willing to usually spend, a lot more money because, hey, I can spend $4,000 a month, if I'm going to be able to get, a 3-time return or a 2-time return or whatever it may be. So just because that higher lifetime value seems, and a lot of the orthodontists that I've talked to seem to be, and this generally seems to be a little bit happier, really enjoy the work that they do. And maybe it's because, there's such immediate differences visually and they can see their work.
So you've noticed your orthodontist clients are more happy in general than the dentist, family dentist?
Very small sampling and purely anecdotal, but that is what I've seen.
Yeah, do you think it has something to do with the fact that they don't give shots? There's no drilling, there's no surgery, there's no blood, there's no gauze, there's no surgery, there's no infection, there's no antibiotics, there's no pain meds. It's just glue and rubber bands. Do you think that might be a huge part of it?
I agree. Yep.
When's the last time an orthodontist got an infection, a dry socket, a swollen face? So they're generally happy. Well, what percent of revenue do you think the average orthodontist does spend, and what do you think the average general dentist does spend as far as collections, percent of revenue spent on marketing and advertising?
I don't get into it with them at that level, and I don't because it's not necessarily that part of it isn't my business. If they're brand new coming in and they haven't advertised much before, a lot of times they're like, Tyson, I don't really know where to start. What can you recommend? And I'm only going to recommend something that I know is going to help and going to work for them. And so I'll try to find out, best case scenario, if you could get X amount of patients per month, how much would that be worth to your practice? And once they give me an idea on that, then I'll let them know, hey, yeah, I think that we could work together. But as far as the percent of that, I've heard 8 to 10, 10 to 15, but I don't get into that with my clients. I let them, keep that part private.
Did you get into the about the cost per head to get a new patient from what your services does, about what it costs per person, per head, per capita?
So, some of them I do. Actually, there's just a couple of them that do. They're like, Tyson, we need our leads to be at about X dollars. per lead that we have coming in.
And what
Like,
dollar are
okay,
they saying?
for leads coming in, they're saying between 17 and 20, a new admit to be 80 to 100, which they're
Say
a
that
very
again.
high volume practice.
What was $17 a head, and what was $80 to $100 a head?
Leads, so about 17 to 20, and
17
then
to 20
new
for a
cases,
lead,
right?
and 80
You know,
to
because a lot
100.
of them aren't going to be qualified.
And what?
A lot of them won't be qualified, so that's why that cost per lead is less, or they won't close all the leads that come in.
And how much
But
for a closed lead that comes in? What would that number be?
this particular one that does a lot of high volume, they're looking at 80 to 100, which I think is pretty low. They've told me that their lifetime value is 5,000 per. First year value is about 1,250. So, if they're willing to pay 80 to 100, I think that's pretty low. I think most will probably pay a little bit more if they're going to be getting in new patients.
What do you think the average dental office is spending to get a confirmed new patient?
Good question. I'd probably say in that $100 range.
$100. The point I'm making is so you said something very profound. The average orthodontist, their average new case is $6,500 for braces, Invisalign, whatever. But he realizes that income in 24 months, 2 years treatment, and a lot of them got their treatment down to 18 months. The dentist value of a patient nationally is the same as that number, but they don't realize it. They realize it over 60 months. So the dentist is going to get 6,500 out of this patient, but it's going to take 5 years. The orthodontist is going to do it in 18 to 24 months. And then when you look at that $100 a head, the most amazing marketing ever done, and what was used for every dental office I know that's in the $3 to $4 million a year collection was mergers and acquisitions. So he's saying $100 a head. So that guy across the street is retiring from you, and you say, well, how many of your patients, how many active patients do you have? And he says, well, I got 2,000. Well, you got 2,000. What's 2,000 times 100? And then you say, well, God, I'll give you a check for that. And then you go away, and I move those charts in the office because that city used to have 5 dentists, and now it has 4. And then 5 years later, another old guy, and now you're down to 3. Look at the reverse of that. Like Tyson's got 5 kids. I had 4 kids. Imagine that old man, and you don't buy it and roll those patients into yours and reduce that town from 5 dentists to 4. And now some young, hungry, 25-year-old Mormon dentist from AT Still who wants to go out and have 5 kids, who's going to work his butt off 7 to 7, 5.5, 6 days a week, do the parade, do the marketing. I mean, you're trading out grandpa for someone who's carrying around about 1,800 milligrams of testosterone per deciliter and is 50 years your youth. And it's just the most brilliant strategy in the world is to buy out the old bulls that are turned out to pasture and roll them in. So a lot of times when you look at those patients, listen to this guy. So if you didn't buy that practice, now you're going to have to take that practice money and give it to Tyson to get the patients. So these are confirmed patients that have been in the office. The only thing it comes down to is what is your definition of an active patient. But I want to go back to reviews again because I do. Everybody keeps talking about it. What do they call it? Social confirmation. And we're only dealing with moms who make 90% of the appointments. Regina Hirschlinger thinks it's upwards of 93%. Do you think moms need social confirmation for a purchase more than dads?
That's a tough question because I think about it. I'm going to look online more myself, and I can only judge it based on me. I'm going to look online more myself and talk to friends less. My wife, she'll look online and look at reviews, but she'll talk to friends too. She's just more social than I am. So I think that women are going to, get the recommendation of a friend probably a little bit more than a man would. And a man would just, 5 stars, okay, let's book something if they have to. Or, wife, I found a good dentist, he has 5 stars here, why don't you book an appointment? So I think men probably rely on the internet just a little bit more for that proof, and women probably speak to their friends a little bit, but, that's a guess, and I could be completely off.
No, that's what everybody's saying. I mean, the anthropologists are saying that when they study apes and monkeys, humans, gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, bonobos, gibbons, and all the monkeys, that every time a boy monkey talks to another monkey, the woman will talk to five. It's a 5-to-1 ratio. The University of Chicago does studies on how many words we say a day. Every year they've done it for 20, 30 years. Women are always north of 7,000 words a day, and men are under 1,500, which is why they like YouTube. Because they don't want to say anything. They're just going to listen to a one-way lecture, which is a very different experience than getting on Facebook and making a comment and all your girlfriends replying, comment, you're going back and forth and private message. And I saw that with my five sisters. I grew up with five sisters. I mean, they were just obsessed. They had best friends and girls that they used to be. How many? You got 5 kids? How many boys or girls?
3 boys, 2 girls.
And what are their ages?
I just have a little princess that turned 5 yesterday, and then I have a 9-year-old boy and a 12-year-old boy, a 15-year-old girl, and a 17-year-old boy.
Yeah, and it's a small sample to say. I mean, you could have a shy introvert girl and extrovert boy, but the girls are just far more social. So maybe those social. So how does a I know what my dentist's going to think. He's there's no way he's going to say, hey Tyson, can you do me a favor? Can you leave me a review? I mean, they hate that stuff. They don't ask for referrals. I've podcasted pretty much every dental consultant I've ever met or had dinner with. And the one thing they all agree on 100% is, the first day they just go in the office and observe. And when they observe, some office are doing this or that, but no one's ever observed asking for a referral or a friend or loved one on day one. It's never been observed. And it's just so counterculture. So my question is, how do you get more reviews? I mean, he's not going to ask for one.
So the dentists that we work with, we help put together a review system for them, and there's a link on my website in the menu, get more reviews. They can learn about that system. But, there's things that I don't like to do for my business. I don't like to have, phone calls that take hours at a time, or clients that want to continue to talk about stuff that we've already talked about in email. There's just things I don't like to do. But, I do it because I know that it's best for my business. I see dentists that I work with that do awesome at getting reviews. And without fail, what that is that at the end of the appointment, the dentist, just asks a favor. He said they're getting ready to leave, and they're like, hey, do you mind doing me a favor? We're trying to get the word out about our practice, and if you could leave a review on Google, just take a couple minutes, I'd really appreciate it, and hand you the front desk more information. So if that is specifically said, ask for that review on Google, let them know that you're looking forward to reading it. Now, a lot of this stuff I've got from Maui Bob on the Dental Town forums, that's going to greatly increase the chances of getting that review. And the front desk does something about it. And then your practice management software sends out that request for the review, whether it's through text message or an email. And then maybe you send out a postcard a few days later too. But you have to ask for it. There's things that you don't like to do.
Who do you refer to on Dental Town? Who do you refer to on Dental Town?
Maui Bob, he has a review system, and he helps dentists get more reviews.
Maui, M-A-L...
M-A-U-I, I think.
M-A-U-I.
Maui Bob.
Bob Summers.
That's it, yep.
Yeah, Bob Summers. Okay, now I got you. I've read that there's a lot of Google cracking down, Yelp cracking down on people saying leave us a review and I'll give you a Starbucks gift card, or trying to bribe people to get reviews. All my reviews were done by my 5 sisters, and they each have 5 friends, so I was able to build all my reviews just through family and friends. How does that? What do you think of that strategy?
Yeah, it's the most recent thing is Google has said you don't want to gate reviews, meaning you don't send somebody to a landing page, and if they click 1 star or 2 stars, filter that review into a feedback form. That's been the general practice for quite some time. And Google's saying don't do that. If you do that, then you can get in trouble. So sure, ask for Google reviews, but don't offer them anything for it. And Yelp has said don't ask for Yelp reviews at all. So I think that the best way to get Yelp reviews is to have a decal on your door that says something, check in on Yelp, or Yelp customers love us. And if they check in on Yelp, then they're going to get a request on their phone to leave a review. And I mean, as far as Yelp goes, that's about it. Yelp watches where people come from leaving a review. So if they see they're coming consistently from one specific site, then they know that you're asking for Yelp reviews, and they're going to start filtering them.
I've also, when I look at Bob Summers, Get More Reviews, that was episode 483. You said the word door. I have always put a box of business cards by my door, and I'm in a retail center. I mean, I'm in a center with a Safeway and a Pizza Hut and a Chase Bank and a tanning salon. I think the tanning salon, that's got to be the bizarrest business. I mean, we're only like 9 miles from the sun, and there's a tanning salon on every single corner in Arizona. But my gosh, I grabbed. I'll probably grab a card once a month. You're out for dinner, you're out this, and you're like, oh, look at this store, this is cool, and you could take a picture on your cell phone, but it's really nice when you just have a box of business cards by the door, and you just grab.
I think it's a great idea. It's something that most people don't do, but it's just those little things like that. Is it going to get you 5 patients a month? No. But could it get you 1 patient every 2 years? Yeah. And what did that cost you? So absolutely, I think something like that's a great idea.
And every time you got to go with the family to the grocery store and you're in there, I always walk back to the pharmacy and press the flesh with the pharmacy. How you guys doing? And because people are always going up to them and saying, what's best for today? Would you recommend Ambisol or Excedrin or extra strength Tylenol? And they go, no, I recommend Howard. And they have my business, and then my business cards in my wallet. That's another thing with dentists. Every time you ever ask a dentist for a business card, they're like, oh, I don't have one. Okay, well, you're with your wife. Does she have them? How come she has 1,400 things in her purse and none of your business cards, and you say you don't like going to the grocery store, or why don't you go hang out with the pharmacist for 20, 30 minutes and make sure he's got your cards in the drawer, and just keep pressing the flesh. I wanted to ask you, you do dentistry, plastic surgery, physicians, orthodontists, drug rehab, psychologists, physician groups, accountants, lawyers. How is dentistry different? How is dentistry and orthodontists different from lawyers, accountants, physicians? Have you learned anything over the years? How we are unique, or things that we don't do that the plastic surgeons do, or the psychologist, or whoever?
I have seen dentistry can be a little bit trickier, and probably 80% of my clients are in dentistry. So that's 80%? Where the majority of my time is. About 80% are dentists. So that's where majority of my time is spent. And it's a little bit more complex at times, mainly dentists and then attorneys, usually because they have duplicate Google listings. They have perhaps a listing for the practice name, a listing for their own name, and then one of their listings is getting filtered out and they're not showing up well in the search results. And if you just have a general SEO person come in that hasn't worked with dentists or attorneys before, they could royally screw things up, when typically, it's a fairly simple fix to make sure that your proper listing is showing up. So that's one thing that's unique that needs really to be addressed by somebody that has the experience.
They always talk about in business. I mean, are you a fan of Shark Tank?
I've watched it many times. Yeah, I actually listened to a similar podcast called The Pitch. That's from Gimlet Media. So if you haven't listened to that, I'd recommend that.
You should post that on Dental Town.
I will.
But they're always, what is your unique selling proposition? What makes you unique? Mr. Wonderful say, how come I just can't go give some other kid half the money and just do this myself? How can a dentist or an orthodontist, or is it even important to differentiate themselves, to be different? When people say, well, damn, there's a dentist on every corner. Okay, are all the dentists the same on all the corners? How would you recommend that these kids differentiate themselves?
I think the first thing is they need to really define their target demographics. Once they define that, then they're going to be able to develop a unique selling proposition that speaks to them. Are you going after primarily cosmetic cases? Okay, you are. You want those higher revenue patients? Great. Then how are you marketing to them? Are you marketing to them as as, just another one of their group and a friend. Come on down, we'll take a look at you. It's going to be a spa-like environment. What is it? So you need to really dive deep, define your target demographic, and see what resonates with them. When I work with clients, I've had people say, well, Tyson, there's nothing really different about my office. And part of me appreciates their honesty. Another part of me is kind of frustrated because there has to be something. Why else is somebody going to choose you? Maybe you're the dentist that's open till 9 p.m. Maybe you're the dentist that has a clown come in on Wednesdays. I don't know, whatever it may be. You have to do something that's unique that draws extra people in. So that's a discussion that I have with my dentists. And, a lot of them take it to heart and will come up with something. But unfortunately, some of them don't. They just want to be another dentist, among a sea of dentists.
When you study social media, 1% of your friends on your social media, whether it be, doesn't matter what it is, it could be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Dental Town, 1% start all the conversations. 9% engage, comment, reply, whatever. 90% just lurk. They're just a social animal. They are fear of public speaking. My God, it's like just to get on stage, they crap their pants. So when they get a bad review, I swear to God, you have to walk them off the cliff. They're calling you from the San Francisco Gate Bridge, and they're either angry and want to get a lawyer and sue them or kill them or shoot them. So how do you handle negative reviews, especially since dentists just are there's 9 out of 10 are just snowflakes to the core.
That I get this, I'd say on a regular, maybe once a month, one of my clients got a bad review. And I tell them what they need to do. And that is, we take out the merit of the review. We're just gonna assume the review was accurate. I don't care. I'm not getting into a he said, she said. But you need to own the review. And you need to professionally respond. And you need to take the high road. No good is going to come of arguing or back and forth, which I unfortunately have had clients do against my recommendation. So I make the recommendation to reply similar to this. Dear so-and-so, we are extremely sorry that you had a bad experience at our office. We want to make it right. Our goal is to make sure that every person that comes in is treated like family, and we fell short. Please call, and then insert dentist name, at this number. We'd like to address any issues that you have. So, if I'm reading that, I'm a potential patient of that office, I'm going to see, crap happens, things happen that are out of our control and somebody's not happy. Okay. But what was the dentist's response? Okay. They took ownership of it and they want to fix the issue, as opposed to attacking the person, which I've seen. And, okay, I'm going on to the next dentist if I see that. So they really need to own the issue.
I just went to my physician yesterday for my yearly physical, and when I went in there, I thought he was just going to die or cry. I mean, he was just visibly upset. And I said, he goes, I'm so sorry. I can't believe this. He goes, my nurse sent in the wrong blood deal. This is not what I needed on you. And I knew it at the time because I only take one medication. It's thyroid. And when I saw it wasn't on the list, I said, are you sure this is right? Because, it doesn't have thyroid. And then I thought, I don't know, maybe it's been stable since 2005 and you don't want to check it anymore. And, but he told me that when that happens before, people just go insane. I mean, they just lose it. And I just tell dentists, what percent, if someone asks you, Tyson, what percent of Americans would you say are just batshit crazy? What percent?
I think to a point we all are about some things.
We all are about some things. I love that one. Yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
And god dang, you get a bad review. Are you kidding me? You're going to practice dentistry for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and you're not going to accidentally order the wrong blood stuff, try a new lab, try a new, that something goes completely wrong or it goes completely right, but the person receiving it is completely crazy. When you go to a Farran family reunion, 50% of them should be under deep study by the Centers for Disease Control, trying to figure out one way or wrong. I assume it was inbreeding 50 years ago. I'm not for sure. I can't believe we've gone an hour. What is there any questions I wasn't smart enough to ask, or anything else you wanted to say?
I think you did a great job of covering everything. You know, the advice that I give to dentists that are out there is when you're trying to get started with your online presence, go with somebody. When you do your research, find somebody that you're comfortable with. You know, I talk to dentists, and sometimes they just are looking for somebody that's the cheapest. And okay, are you just going to go to the cheapest guy to fix your teeth? You know, is that what you want to be seen for? You're going to go somebody's going to give you quality. So, you know, do your research and find somebody you feel comfortable with. And, you know, I never pressure anybody into working with me. You know, I don't deal like that. You know, I'm just going to talk with them, give them a recommendation, and, you know, they need to feel comfortable with somebody that they're paying to improve their online presence. So, you know, if they want to look at what we have, go to getmyaudit.net, like I mentioned, and then put in their information, you know, and we'll send that over to them. If they want to talk, they can talk. But you covered everything that I can think of. You know, last thing we want to do is put off establishing an online presence because, you know, it's just every day it's just going to become more and more important to have.
Yeah, and I want to just add a couple things that you know, when you're in a medical dental building, you're gonna have to spend twice as much on this type of marketing. So a great form of well, why do you think all these big stores go in the mall? Because that's where the traffic
Mm-hmm.
is. And
Right.
my gosh, when you look at these four-lane intersections in Phoenix and Salt Lake, some of these intersections get 30, 40,000 cars a day. That's just like having 30, 40,000 hits on your website. So if you go in a medical dental building, you're going to live in Tyson's house for the rest of your life. Get visibility. You know what's funny? I was reading this book 100 years ago. This business guy said, if you're not seen from the horse's trail, you don't exist. And now the horse is gone, but it's the car. I was reading this deal in New York City. Their biggest public transportation problem was the depth of manure in the streets of New York City. And they would shovel it to the side, and on the sides, it'd be 6 feet deep shoveling this stuff to the side. So
Wow.
you got to be seen from the automobile windshield. You got to have a retail location. And the other thing is that the millennials do differently is you're not going to get immediate results. I mean, you build brands, you build advertising campaigns over years and years and years. You just can't come to Coolidge, Arizona, and build a brand overnight. It just doesn't work that way. It might work that way in your Instagram mind on or Snapchat, but that's not how it works in the real world. And so when you do these marketing things, remember it's just a daily 20-mile march, and you march 5 days a week. You march 50 weeks a year, and it's week after week, year after year, and 5, 10 years down the road, if you had the right strategy, your student loans are paid off, and you're glad you went to dental school, and life is good. And I just want to tell you about that 17-year-old boy of yours. I got four boys. They're 28, 26, 24, 22. I did not have a boy that did not stack a car around that sweet spot of 17. So good luck with that, Tyson. Does he have
All
auto
right.
insurance on the car?
You know, we're somewhat lucky with our 17-year-old. He's intellectually disabled, so he won't ever drive a car. He's a challenge, but he's a joy.
Oh, right on, right on. My gosh, Zach was the saddest one. Remember when Zach got his car? He saved up forever. He bought this beautiful blue Mustang. It was the most gorgeous car. And his first trip out of the house was to Chick-fil-A or
He was actually on his way home from work.
Chick-fil-A. No, no, Chipotle.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
got
yeah.
off. He got off work, and then he went to Chipotle, pulled out of the Chipotle parking lot, and stacked the car. And I mean, my
Horrible.
gosh. But well, hey, seriously, Tyson. Thanks for taking an hour out of your busy day and coming on the show and spending with my homies. Thanks for posting on Dentaltown. That's why I called you. You didn't call me. Remember, there's no advertising on there. I asked him. He didn't ask me. There's no money change hand. I'm a big fan of you. Big fan of your post. And but thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a rocking hot day, buddy.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.